Studio, we're now joined by two dynamic youngsters who've carved a way for themselves, and I know they're looking at me when I use the word as youngsters, establishing their stake in their spaces of their professions. Sivuyile Ngcanga is a promising young entrepreneur who has had his fair share of challenges in building his brand. Kutloana Nhlapo, also known as the Kruk, has a brand specialist and music producer, and via Zoom we're also joined by Industrialist, who announced the launch of the first ever proudly South African car brand, and founder of Skinny Sbu Socks, Sibusiso Ngwenya. Welcome, thanks very much indeed for joining us, gents. And Sbu, what a day for you today.
What an eventful day, Peter. Thank you very much. And it's nice to see you today on June 16, 2022. I figured I should take the spirits of the youth of 1976 and gather the courage to launch the first ever South African car brand.
Right. You know what? We're going to talk about all of this, but I want to get the first message from the three of you, because Youth Day, what we're hearing is a lot of unemployment. What we're hearing is a lot of lost hope, young people who've given up. And I just want to start with an opening message for our youth out there. On Youth Day, what are you thinking about, and what do you want to get from your heart to our young people? Let's start with you, Sivuyile.
So what I would want the youth to understand, and what I would want the youth to know, is that you must look at the day that we're celebrating today. It was basically the youth coming together and standing for what they believe in, and making sure by all means necessary that their wishes and their dreams come true. And I feel as though that should be now a message that's brought to 2022, to the youth of today, that it was through unity that the youth of 1976 got things done and established. And that's what we need to start realizing today within our generation, that the change came with the youth, and now the struggle has changed, it's different. Now we're fighting for economical footprint, and so therefore our youth should unite and come together and join forces in order to change the current status quo.
Kutloana, what's in your heart for our young people?
I think just basically telling everyone that the world is a big place, man. You know, the world is a very big, dynamic place that offers a lot of opportunity. You know, and if we are going to be the youth that is going to shape South Africa for the next generation, we need to look at other regions to start operating in, and how we are able to build a bridge from South Africa to those parts of the world, while basically just conserving what's ours.
All right, and I think you've given us a clue with part of the discussion we're going to have about outward looking. Sbu, your message, what's in your heart today for young people?
The youth of 1976 took to the streets without consulting their elders, their parents, or even the people in power, because they were sick and tired, and the previous generation was not willing to change the status quo. And I think we should take the same spirit today in 2022 and stop complaining, stop waiting for a savior to come and save us, and stop blaming the government for everything, and take it upon ourselves as young people and go out there and make things happen. There's tons of opportunities waiting for us in the country and across the globe. And the Kruk can confirm for me, he's doing incredible moves globally in the communication space, you know, and we're doing the same with the sock business and now with the car business. So I think for young people, let's just stop complaining. Let's make things happen.
All right, gents, let's start with the problem statement. The most unemployed people in South Africa are young people, and they're watching the three of you and they're saying, yeah, it's easy to say when you've made it. They haven't seen your journey, and you faced the struggles that they're facing. You woke up one morning and you decided something had to change. So what is the problem statement in terms of what needs to be fixed so that we can reproduce you guys many, many more times? Sivuyile?
As I said previously when we were on the interviews, that the only thing our youth needs is a set steps on how to go from concept into funding. And the problem is now you look at us and you see, okay, we're moving and we're getting somewhere, but each sector that we go to or each phase that we go into trying to reach our dreams and reach our goals comes with different challenges.
Yeah.
So you find out that we got funding right now to establish a manufacturing plant where we're going to do injection molding and spray painting as Bantu. But now the problem is, now that we got the funding for the equipment, we're struggling to go to work every month. We're struggling to meet rent. There's so many other challenges that come along because we're not really given the funding and the support that we need. And the only way to get the youth to get to where we are and where we want to get to is just through support. We need to look at the steps that need to be taken, from conceptualization to funding to having a successful business and seeing how we can help those individuals. Now, the problem is we've always complaining and asking government to help us, and we're realizing that the more we complain, it seems as though they're trying, but they're not really getting there. And what I'm realizing, especially now trying to make steps here in Pretoria, we're seeing that it's easier to go speak to people that are already in that space. So whatever sector or business you're in, try and go speak to someone within your industry, and maybe that person can now start realizing your vision. I tried so many times in the Eastern Cape to try get our people in power to listen and try and understand the vision. But it seems as though the best people you can speak to are people within that sector and within the space that have been through the challenges, because then they can identify and understand your vision so that they can accelerate your way going forward, whether it's through investment or whether it's through support, a mentor, so forth.
From plan to funding, that's one of the big things. You've taken a slightly different path because most of it is here and the skill of your hands. So it needed more creativity than funding, I guess. But still, you jumped big hurdles. Tell us about your journey and how maybe there needs to be a shift of thinking for our young people.
I think my journey is a very dynamic one, you know. It's a typical journey of coming from a Davidton, growing up in a hood, and I was economically excluded because I had to drop out in second year. And it got to a point in my life where I needed to decide whether I finish this degree and my younger brother, who is 4 years my junior, does not go to school, or I try figure it out and make sure that he gets the education, you know. And I basically chose the latter, you know, so that he could get an education. And I think my biggest thing was just staying true to who I am, staying true to what I want to be, and also just not being afraid to do things that I don't like, to raise whatever capital or raise whatever or alarm whoever that believes in what I want to do, to almost start believing in what I want to do. So I think it's just walking wayward.
Was your vision always quite clear, or has it evolved over time? Because I guess when your vision is clear, when the obstacles come, you just keep on saying, okay, I might go left a little bit, but I'm still trying to get here.
My vision is clear, man. I just want to be a world-renowned broadcaster.
All right, which you are already doing, it sounds like. Okay, Sbu, your socks are world-renowned now, and I again, you know, tell us your story, because you were the one that started here provoking, saying that there is no Messiah coming, there's no Savior coming. You've got to get on with it. How do we change that, though, especially when you don't know how to even start? And Sivuyile was giving us a clue about help and plan, but if there's no Savior coming, how do you do what you did?
I think it's very important, Peter, to start where you are with what you have, you know. I got to Johannesburg almost 12 years ago with just $100 in my pocket, and I had a dream. But most importantly, I said to myself, okay, cool, this is my situation. I need to get started. I went to Mr. Price. I bought 14 pairs of socks with $70, and we started Skinny Sbu Socks. Young people go on social media to use their data, their time, and their cell phones to bash other people or to bully other people. But I went with an opposite attitude. I went there to promote my business. I went there to promote myself and to ask for funding. So the most important thing that and the reason why I share my story all the time is to say to young people, to my peers and to young people, is that like we have everything we need around ourselves to get started. Just use the little resources that you have and get started. And immediately after I went to Mr. Price and started selling those socks, I started using the power of social media and growing what we know as South Africa's #1 sock brand. So I think it's very important for us to just look inside ourselves and ask ourselves, what is it that we really want to achieve in life as young people, and just take it upon ourselves.
Do you know, I hear this story quite often about starting small and humble beginnings and just building on that. I don't know what it is, but we see a lot of this tender culture in this country. And I wonder if that hasn't held us back a little bit, where we want to get the lotto win overnight.
Well, as we were speaking before we went online, we were speaking about your dreams as a young man to actually get to where you want to go. So you always look at the people that are older than you. So we said when you're growing up in the Kasi, you see guys spinning kushesh, and that's what you want to do. Yeah. But when you get older, you realize within your space, who are the people that are making it? What are they doing? And it's just been, I don't want to say it's a misfortune, but most of the people that were making it in our environment were the tender entrepreneurs. So then that's why we aspired to be tender entrepreneurs at first. But then you get people like myself that had different vision, that wanted a different approach, where we wanted to go into manufacturing. And so with still keeping that dream of wanting to go into manufacturing and realizing, hey, there's no money. That's when we started, I started doing air conditioning and electrical work. It's still what keeps the lights on at home before I could fulfill my dreams. So I take that money, I use it to fly around, I use it to go into meetings, I use it to put in any form of investment into my business. So the tender entrepreneur does slow down so many people, because now that's the only thing they look at. But tenders are not sustainable. Most of the tenders go, it's most of the time it's who you know and where you're working, and therefore then you can get work. But then that shift of going from tenders that are not a regular thing, you can't guarantee yourselves tenders for the next 10 years. So you need to take that money and try to create something sustainable. And that's what me and my partners and friends have been doing and are trying to do.
Out-of-the-box thinking, it seems like that is the way. I mean, the world is changing at a pace. I mean, it's so fast. But the beautiful thing about it is that Hong Kong is a click away. New York is literally a click away. And you have become an international DJ. And maybe 10 years ago, that might not be something that we could have thought about. Tell me about thinking outwards, because when you left YFM, some people might have thought your next step is Metro here at SABC.
Yeah. I think it's very important to look within and stick to your guns. As much as the next guy wants to move from Y to Metro, my biggest thing was to explore the world, and I was lucky enough to win a DJ competition by Black Coffee, and I DJed with him in Ibiza, and that was my first footprint to the world. That opened a lot of doors for me, because I started meeting people, and when I did come back through my YFM salary, I started traveling and touring through that salary. And I think. Going back to your question about outward thinking and out of the box thinking, it's our only savior. It's our only savior, because at the pace that the world is changing, you cannot think like how some of people that are sitting in political offices are thinking today.
Yeah. Sbu, today I know there are a lot of people across South Africa who said, he wants to start a car. What is this guy on about? I'm pretty sure that you're getting that reaction from a lot of people. What makes you move on regardless?
I'm inspired by individuals like Elon Musk. You know, I religiously study Elon Musk. Funny enough, he's South African. He's a boy from Pretoria. I share a lot of similarities with him. But it's not the first time I've received such an influx of a backlash or people trying to stop me for reaching out for my dreams. You know, almost a decade ago in April 2013, when I started Skinny Sbu Socks, I told people that I'm going to put it at Starter Fords. I told people that I'm going to put it at Markham stores throughout the country. And nobody believed me. I told people that I'm going to put it on a global platform. And just in April this year, we partnered with the Grammy Awards as the official sock partner. So I try to just fix my eyes on the goal and ignore the noise on the side. And I funny enough, today in the environment that I was in, I was sitting right next to the president and a couple of ministers and young people from Mthatha. I received a lot of love, and a lot of people concurred with me that in South Africa, it's about time we have our own car. We've been assembling cars and distributing foreign brands for many years, and it's about time that we do our own thing. So I think this time around there is some sort of credibility because of the work that I've been putting in for the past 10 years, that South Africans trust that I can put 1,000 cars in the next 18 months on South African roads.
We are going to watch your story, and we hope that this is going to be another Sbu Socks adventure where it literally takes off and redraws the environment that we're in. Gentlemen, for me, I'm very privileged. I've traveled the continent quite a bit. And one of the things that I've seen across the continent is that there is no waiting for anybody to help them. They're just hustling and getting on with it. You talked about support. Is there a way to keep moving, even if the support doesn't come? If it comes, great, but to change our mindset in our young people that there is someone coming to save us, as we were saying, but rather, let's just move forward.
Yeah. So this is why it's important to also preach a message that entrepreneurship is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it is a very, very hard journey. And because it's a hard journey, you have to have something special about you that is to believe in yourself. Believe that you can go through with the funding, without the funding, and you are going to make it. And the more you move forward, the more you can see where your path should head. So speaking about my colleague here, he knew what he wanted to do, but with us in entrepreneurship, the goal is constantly shifting. And though when I first started, I wanted to manufacture small electronic devices and power banks. But when that didn't work out because I couldn't get letters of intent, I had to think differently. Hence, I started going to tenders so that I can keep the lights on at home, but still pursuing my other business adventures. But the one thing that I would like to tell the youth of South Africa is actually use the skill that you have. Yeah. So through collaboration, I remember when I tried to start my first manufacturing plant, I didn't know how to create a forecast, a break-even point. So I had to ask a friend of mine who was a chartered accountant, I asked her, can you please help me with this? And after hours, when she was done at work, I think she was, forgot what company she was working for back then, and I was working for Mercedes-Benz. After hours on weekends, we worked on my business plan. So she used her skill, and I used my enthusiasm to collaborate and try and work this thing out. Fast forward, 4 years later, 6 years later, but like now she's running her own company, her own accounting firm. And now I'm starting this, going into manufacturing now. As I said, we're doing injection molding and spray painting. And I should talk to Sbu because maybe we can spray paint. About that. Yeah, spray paint some of these parts. And we're all going to do chroming as well. Yeah. But now 6 years later, she has a company that's doing accounting firm, and now I need accounting services. Now I'm utilizing her services. So it's when you want to go out there and you want to do things, there's so many collaborations you can do. Maybe you're not going to get paid for your skill now. Maybe you're a qualified engineer and you're sitting at home. Go out there, meet people, try and use your skill. Yes, in some of the cases you won't get paid, but maybe it will pay off one day. But we need to start moving forward, whatever you have. So Usbabalo at that time wasn't an entrepreneur. She was just an accountant. But because she had a skill and I knew that she's an accountant, I asked her. We're friends. She did it for me. So this is what South African youth can do.
I want to talk a little bit more about collaboration and working together, because that's another thing that I think we struggle with. We all want our names on the top of the business door, and you know, we don't want to talk collaborations. But the one thing I want to get out of you, and this was a journey that I went through, because I had a chance to work for an international broadcaster at one stage, and I was scared when I arrived, because you know, this is a big place in UK and all of this. And yet what I learned from that, and I'm wondering if you can share that as well from your experience, is that we are just as good, and that our mindset must shift, that we're not trying to keep up, but we can lead in so many ways.
You're right. We are not just as good, but we're probably better because of how shunned upon Africa is. Africa is a very diverse place. We go through the most. We make so much with so little. So that in itself is a story. I mean, when I started, for instance, playing amapiano on my radio shows back in 2017, nobody thought that amapiano would be on a global stage now. So I broke amapiano into commercial radio in South Africa. And when it started becoming a thing and getting playlisted and everyone was jumping onto this wave, I decided to have the first amapiano show globally. And now it's a global phenomenon. So it's just looking at your immediate environment and taking those stories and selling them to the world. It's as easy as that.
And that we can compete and surpass.
And we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the world is our oyster. Sbu, let's talk this conversation about collaboration, because I, as I said, I think, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's cultural, that back in the day it used to be Ngwenya and Sons. That must be what's on the on the board. And yet, if we took all the skills that we have and say, guys, Peter's an accountant, Sivuyile is a mechanic, Sbu is good at marketing, let's come together and do something. Do you think our young people do that enough?
I don't think we do enough collaborations, you know, but we're starting to be open to it. And let me open by saying, if your project doesn't require you to collaborate, it's not big enough. If it still requires your own resources, your own time, your own energy, and your own team, it's not big enough. You know, it's a huge project when you need to call outside assistance, outside help. You know, you look at what we did just recently with Standard Bank, a bank that cares for the dreams and aspirations of entrepreneurs. They helped me get the socks to the US. They helped me get the socks to the Grammys. They helped me handle the entire deal and fly there and handle that whole process. So for me, I look at so many instances in my business today, meeting and pitching my business to the president and standing at a door where there's a potential of receiving huge funding to establish the first ever South African car brand. It was because I collaborated with the National Youth Development Agency to help me get this far. They didn't give me money, yes, but they helped me get my foot in the door. So I think young people, we are more open to collaborations with big brands, but also we should also start being open to collaborate with each other as peers, because it helps cut your costs, and it helps you get to where you're trying to go. So I think collaboration is the new term that we need to use in business, and that we need to hold dear and make it the core of our strategy going forward as businesses, because it helps us get there much quicker and without spending much.
Yeah, I'm sure you concur with that. Yes. Partnerships, because you mentioned that already.
Yes, definitely. And speaking about partnership, I also want to talk about authenticity, because that's one thing that we also shy away from as the South African youth, is that we want to mimic sometimes what we see overseas and so forth, but the world actually just wants us, like African story. They want to listen to African music. That's why I like the story of Amapiano so much, because it showed us that we thought in South Africa the artists that would break out into the international market would would be the hip-hop artists. But we saw that Amapiano took over the world by storm. And that's because people wanted authenticity. They wanted African, they wanted us. So we should actually look at our cultures in a different way, in a beautiful way, and actually realize this is who we are, and actually show the world who we are, and actually bring out our brands and have and put ourselves out there.
And the other thing, and I guess part of your story has been telling me this as well, networking is a really, really important skill to develop.
Very, very, very. I mean, I still save up and go to trade shows abroad. I mean, the last time I traveled was before COVID. I went to a trade show in Norway called Bilam. And actually, the current radio show that I've got in LA on Dash Radio, I met the guy at that trade show. So you just need to go out of your realm, go meet people, go see what other parts of the world are doing, and almost just bring it home and try and make sense of how it would work for your immediate environment.
And even here at home, isn't it? I mean, it's going beyond your township, going beyond your city, but also just meeting people that you've never met before, because you just never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, I mean, crazy story. While I was still at Y, I met Sbu, and very, very, very energetic dude. And we actually come from the East Rand, which is probably like the same hood, And one thing that brought us together beyond that interview that we did at YFM was the fact that we believed in lobbying for each other. Whether or not we're in the same industry, whether or not we are doing the same thing, or we're fighting the same cause. But the fact that I endorse Skinny Sbu Socks in one way or another gives them leverage and gives them access to a different market.
Fantastic. We're going to start wrapping up this conversation. So a final message, I don't know if there's something that we left out that you think we must share, but also if you could just share as well. I mean, it must have been a big thing to be with the president today and launching your car. Tell us a little bit about the day, because I'd like other people to think that could be me.
Well, today was, I think I had an appointment with today. When you look at life, at the grand scheme of life, it was one of those moments where preparation meets opportunity. For the past 2 years, I have been planning to exit my sock business or grow it or extend it or move on to the next chapter, because Skinny Sbu Socks is turning 10 next year.
Wow.
I have basically been selling socks throughout my 20s, and I wanted a bigger and a better challenge. So the past 2 years, I have been playing and toying around with the idea of starting a car brand or moving on to a totally different industry, because a natural progression when you're doing a product like socks would be to go on to apparel or undies. But I wanted to surprise my consumer. At the end of the day, I'm doing this for the people who are buying my product. And I figured that moving to the automotive space would be a beautiful thing. We've been working at launching Skinny Sbu Socks over the past 2 years throughout the pandemic. But I think in the past, we figured that there's going to be tons of media there. Why not save the costs of hosting a media briefing? Let's just do it there with the president and almost pitch the business at the same time. For me, it was a very beautiful day. And in all honesty, Peter, I want to say that there was a lot of positive spirit and energy there. South Africans and people in power, we are tired of buying foreign cars. People just wanted something new and something fresh, just pioneered whatever revolution is happening right now in the apparel space. I think even right now we are pioneering, we're going to see an influx of young people who look like me going into industries like the automotive industry. Skinny Sbu Supercars will have its first 1,000 cars by 2024, and it's all going to be because of South Africans. So we're opening up an investment opportunity for South Africans to invest from as little as 5,000 rand. So they can look out at our social media. You can visit Skinny Sbu Socks or at Skinny Sbu Store, as we're about to introduce brand new online platforms for Skinny Sbu Supercars.
I want one of those cars
South Africans
in black with tints. Okay, final parting shot from you to our young people as they navigate this difficult world, but also one with opportunities, I think.
I think my biggest end goal is to travel the world, see what's going on in the world, build this bridge, and come back with insights that are going to inform strategy and policy, I think especially in our industry, we are so married to the idea of being the guy with the red jacket, with the sunglasses at night but we forget that the actual money and the actual power is in insights, and I want to spearhead at that side of the industry where I'm the one with insights, so that if I do find something that will work for us, I'm able to come back here and inform strategy and inform policy, so that it's a smoother journey for everybody that is trying to embark that journey.
Fantastic, thanks, Kutloana. And final shot. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
You know what I mean? But I think just the final message is that people find their place, whatever that place is, and your thoughts and your experiences.
The one thing I want to actually get out before I forget is that the youth are unemployed and they are sitting at home. And if you realize that the youth that we're celebrating today was at school when they protested and they took to the streets. So I actually want to heed a warning to our government and the leadership that we need to do something about our youth. We need to start listening to our youth. We need to start helping our youth, because it was easy for the youth to go out into the streets while they were at school. Imagine a youth that's sitting at home and doing nothing. And the Bible says idle hands are for the devil's work, and we don't want it to get there. So let's listen to the youth, let's help the youth, let's change the narrative, because we can decrease the unemployment and we can end poverty within our country. And that's a message that I want to write home about.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much indeed. The three of you are great examples of what young people can do and are doing. I wish you the best of luck in the next chapter, and continue to shine this light and be leading lights for our young people as an inspiration. Thank you so much. Your stories are great and fabulous, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so there you have it. It's difficult being young. Do you know that the average age of a person in Africa is 19.7? That's it. We're the youngest continent in the world. So we've got the most energy, the most potential, the most promise. And you, if you're a young person, you literally have got the world at your hands at the moment. And we look to you. Certainly we with grey hair, I'm looking to you to do amazing things. So go out there and be hopeful and get things done. We're going to take a break. We'll have more after this.